speaking of sitcoms, you were in that world.
On the writing side, yes.
On the writing side.
Yeah.
You did Roseanne?
Roseanne, yep. I wrote a couple of years for Roseanne. Then I went to, Tom had his own show. He had 3 sitcoms, Tom Arnold. The first one was called The Jackie Thomas Show. And
Really?
That ran for a little less than a year. We did not do a full season. I think we did 18 episodes. And then I went on to a bunch of other stuff and landed. I did some late night writing. That was just kind of joke writing for late night, which was great, which kind of was fun for a while to not do scripted. And then I went back in. I worked on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And then I created a show for Eddie Griffin and Malcolm Jamal Warner called Malcolm and Eddie. And that went on for a number of years. And then I've had a number of jobs along the way. And then about 3 years ago, I hooked up with, for some reason, Mark Brazil, who I sort of knew from stand-up and then I knew from writing. He created that 70s show. Okay. And he was doing stand-up again. And I said, I'm kind of doing it. And we started buddying up. And so I started doing it once a month, every other. I don't know how we got on this, but my origin story. And so the last like 3 years, and what really helped is when I went back to Minneapolis at Acme Comedy Club. So, and the guy that was headlining, J. Elvis Weinstein, he said, why don't you come and like MC for the week? And I go, yeah, I'm in. And the first couple of nights were like really horrible. And then I kind of, got into a groove again about performing and stand up and, what it's all about. Because I can psych myself out really easily on stand up. But it really helped to have like 9 sets in a row in a nice club with a real audience. Because you just don't get that. Like in LA, trying to figure it out is virtually impossible. You can't get stage time till you're any good. And you're not going to be any good until you get some at least. And you don't have to have like a big crowd. Just like 5 paying people is better than an open mic in front of 8 comedians. It's just, unless you need to have the feeling of standing on stage, holding a mic, getting over that fear, but you'll never get a true feeling of what jokes work and what doesn't and how your persona reflects, because it's a different environment than doing in front of real people.
I'm comedian Timmy Boyle, and this is the greatest live Instagram comedy experience that nobody knew about.
Well, here we are again, Saturday night, 7 o'clock. It is now time for episode 11 of Calling Comedians in Cquarantine. My name is Timmy Boyle from Upstanding Comedy, and we have had an amazing 10 days here. Joy is coming in here, fantastic. Crystal's Punny is coming in here. Brandon Marie, thank you so much for joining us. We are in for a Zup brother to you as well. Craftmaker Mom is here. Thank you for coming in here. You are on episode 11 of Calling Comedians in Cquarantine. We have been in our living rooms for quite a while, and I've been using this time to, nap, eat, and call comedians from around North America. Every day we've called somebody new. Last night was a question and answer period with myself, where you were technically the guests. Craftmaker Mom, thank you for the request to join this video, but can't currently do that, as we'll be waiting for our guest to be here. Joel Madison will be on the show tonight. And so we won't be accepting people to join our live, but hopefully you will hang around and watch. I'm very excited to have Joel as the guest tonight. So I hope everyone here is doing well. I hope you've had a good time in Cquarantine. I know, look, things are really bad. I'm not gonna deny that, but I am gonna say, quite honestly, from my standpoint, I have been really trying to look at everything that's been going on as a fantastic way to reset. I've been able to catch up on some stuff. I think I've been able to actually create foundation pieces for the future. And I think all of us have the opportunity right now to make the best of a bad situation by learning something new, doing the things that maybe you used to say, if only I had more time. Well, now you got that time. And definitely don't use this time to just kind of lie around. I think this is a time where we can be active and creative, even though we're in our own houses. And that's why I started this show. I don't have the proper lighting, I don't have the proper sound, but sometimes I get handicapped by my own perfectionism. And this kind of allowed me to just have the freedom to just create. I just want to connect with people, make people laugh, and I have an opportunity to do that on the show. So thank you for tuning in tonight on this Saturday night. And our guest Joel Madison is here, and I'm going to be bringing him into the show. So get ready, everybody, for episode 11 of Calling Comedians in Quarantine. We are going to be calling Joel Madison right now. Joel, let's see if the technology will work. Do this. What do we got? Is he in? Is he in? He is in. Joel.
Hey, bonjour.
Oh, look at you doing your research on where we are up here in Canada. Where are you? This is beautiful. That's not a living room.
You said you were in the living rooms and you've been in the living room, so I thought I'd take everybody outside. I'm in my backyard hanging out a little bit. I'm fortunate I have some space.
That's beautiful. You're looking good, man.
Oh, thanks. I dolled up for this.
Well, I haven't. I'm not even wearing pants.
I have noticed you've had that backwards Atari shirt on pretty much every night.
Hey, I figured no pants, same sweater. I don't want to do laundry. I'm not going anywhere for months. So there's no judgment on this show, Joel. Okay.
Thank you. I'll try not to. Listen, you had struck on something right away about, do the things that you said if you ever had time to do, you would do. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's always been, I said, if I ever have enough time, what I would like to do is just lie around because I've been so busy. So it was kind of weird when you said don't lie around because that was actually my dream.
Well, here's the thing. I have lied around a lot. I think where I want to go that is, I also, though, am still getting out to do my exercise, and I'm still doing. Are you still there? Oh, did we lose you, Joel? Are you still there?
Yeah, hang on. I was trying. You know what? I'm a senior citizen, and I was trying to turn it up, and I turned it off.
I wouldn't have guessed you were a senior citizen. I'm actually enjoying a period of rest, and I think that's what you're trying to say, I had just gotten off of a 10-day road trip right before this thing unloaded, and I've been on the road a lot. And I know not everybody has this gift, I guess, but it's actually been really nice to just be able. I can't book things in the future, so now I can just catch up and chill and gather my thoughts. And I'm in this really cool creative space right now.
You don't have to worry about your career. You can work on the craft a little bit.
Exactly. And
two different things.
Sometimes I think I'm so hectically trying to book the next gig that I don't actually do the creative elements that allow me to excel and excel greater at the gigs that are actually, allowing me to do what I love. So
it's two paths, working hard on your career and then also keeping up on the craft and the jokes and keeping that. You're a busy touring guy. I don't actually work very much. I kind of went back into it for fun. I got out of, I was a professional for about 10 years back, late 80s, early 90s, and stopped doing it for a living. And so now I'm really just toe dipping again. We had met at that challenge because I've been sort of managing that one comedian, Martin Franks.
I was going to ask you about that. How's Martin doing?
Well, he's sort of, I haven't seen him in a few weeks. He's sort of disappeared.
All right.
A little bit. I don't know what's happened to him. I'm trying to find him right now.
The Uber business though must still be doing pretty strong.
I saw a post of his and he's not answering his phone. He said he was going to be Ubering still, but not picking up anybody. So he said, it's weird having a client that smokes just a ton of pot, but I believe in him. He's a good cat. But anyway, so I started doing that. I write jokes a lot still for fun. I like to perform when I can, but I really don't do it, for a living, or it's not something that I aspire to. I love going out and hanging out with comics again and meeting cats like you and seeing, again, like, man, you're a working professional comic. And that's definitely so aspirational to so many right now that are either, amateurs, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but if you don't make a living at something, you're an amateur, or
Yep.
semi-pros, but making the jump to professional like yourself is very cool to see.
I feel very blessed. Now, the last time I saw you was the last vivid memory was that we were in a small room. It was a hotel room, and you were basically tearing apart my comedy set. And so it took me a lot emotionally to finally get to this point to reach out to you.
Is this true?
No, that was one of my favorite periods of time on that entire challenge, was sitting down with you and Robert G. Lee and being able to talk about the craft, really, because that's exactly, I had just finished performing, and to have a couple guys in the industry like yourselves, well respected, talk to me about my craft was one of my highlights of the trip. So thank you.
You know, and I hope you didn't feel sandbagged because or anything, because the person that's in charge, Leslie, who's she's the greatest lady in the world. He goes, how would you like to talk to the comedians about their acts after they do it? I go, well, I don't, sure, but I don't think I'm any authority per se, and it's a hard thing because people are very emotional about their acts. Nobody wants to really hear anything but, man, you're great. And once you go past, man, you're great, then people go, oh, who the hell are you? So, I tried to keep it as much to like, well, here's a joke that you might pursue a little harder or a little softer. And we talked a lot. This is interesting because you had mentioned this on a couple of things ago with some other comedian about, what's the unique hook,
right?
And we talked about that with you. Because you obviously have one that's you had decided to do and you did it. And I think, Robert and I had two different takes on it. And I'm always curious about that, and always, especially when it's obvious that it was a choice.
Right.
It didn't just come upon you. You came upon it as much as anything else. And it's good. I'm not being judgmental. It's just, I'm putting it out there. It's interesting. As long as something like that, it works for you, which is awesome, but you hate to see some young guy or gal or do, put the hook before the horse, as it were.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you obviously were funny and had jokes, and then kind of added that layer on there.
I do like the process of, and I want to talk to you about process and some other things in the next little bit, because I'm a writer first and foremost. I love performing. But when I had a chance to write my book, when I have a chance to actually do the craft of writing, that actually is the thing that drives me. Being able to have the outlet on stage is kind of the finality of that in some ways.
Okay.
But what I love about live performance and what you're kind of talking about here is, I love the fact that when we make a choice, I don't get so much excited about the fact that I could get a standing ovation if you want to go to the extreme. I get excited about the fact that anything could go wrong at any given time, and that choice might fail. And there's something very exciting about that in the moment that I thoroughly enjoy.
That's what makes stand-up. That's what makes stand-up so interesting. My friend, who's also kind of went back to stand-up after a while, he calls it old man skydiving.
Okay.
Going up doing stand-up. Because again, anything can go wrong. You could be a talented writer, write billions of jokes, but that next one, it's best guess at any one time. My guess on a joke or a bit on yours is better. You have a better percentage of knowing that joke's going to work on stage than somebody who's never done it before. But you still never know, and you never know what the interaction with the crowd's going to be like at any time.
Well, and that's why I think, like, I went to school for film and television, and I want to talk.
That's why I don't know. I had a joke there about how you're probably not as good because you've actually been trained. But
well, I did. I got kicked out. I got kicked out of college a year and a half.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah. I had gathered everything I thought I needed at the time. So, so film and TV is still my love. But that's one of the main differences. As much as I would love to do TV,
as a performer.
As a performer, oh yeah, I would absolutely love to still get that chance.
And when you say do TV, like be in a sitcom, be an actor on a drama, do a stand-up on TV.
My ultimate dream would be sitcom. I'm a sitcom kid. Before I knew anything about the stand-up world, like Bob Newhart is my comedic idol. If I have
gotcha, yeah.
But I fell in love with Bob Newhart's stammer delivery style of comedy through his TV shows before I knew he was a stand-up.
Yeah, of course, because the stand-up was much earlier. That would have been, pretty much before your time. So
yeah. So I grew up. I mean, Cheers to this day is probably my favorite sitcom ever, and I loved the ability, as much as I love the solo thing of stand-up. I love how a sitcom, when done well, can bring together this collection of individuals that if all are doing what they're supposed to do, just is a mesmerizing experience. And that's what kind of really was my love growing up.
I think that turned on a lot of us to going, wow, that's really cool, to be that funny in that environment. And that's the great times of sitcoms, too. A quick shout out to my brother, Alex Leshnick, who just tuned in.
Nice.
And my other brother from a different mother, Brian Larson, who's 32 years old today. Today's his birthday. Brian.
Happy birthday, Brian.
In Colorado. He probably left.
Now,
is it weird that 8 people are on this? Does it bother you at all? It doesn't bother me. I think it's great.
That people keep coming on?
Yeah, what's the etiquette on that? Because sometimes I'll go, oh, hey, so-and-so's live, and I'll jump in and I go, oh, now I'm stuck. like how you walk into a conversation at a party, for example, and then you go, oh, these are the people I don't like, and you have to kind of, but you don't have that option here, which is...
Well, a millennial told me that, because at first, I don't care that everyone comes and goes, that's cool. The people that want to stay. But... I felt like I needed to somehow respond to everybody. And a millennial told me that that's okay. You don't have to. This is their outlet to say hello throughout their thing. And just kind of, so if a millennial says it, they're far more the expert on etiquette. So now I just perceive this as you and me. And if something really jumps out as a cool question or a statement, we'll kind of follow up.
If somebody wants to jump in, whatever. Yeah.
So speaking of sitcoms, you were in that world.
On the writing side, yes.
On the writing side.
Yeah.
You did Roseanne?
Roseanne, yep. I wrote a couple of years for Roseanne. Then I went to, Tom had his own show. He had 3 sitcoms, Tom Arnold. The first one was called The Jackie Thomas Show. And that ran for a little less than a year. We did not do a full season. I think we did 18 episodes. And then I went on to a bunch of other stuff and landed. I did some late night writing. That was just kind of joke writing for late night, which was great, which kind of was fun for a while to not do scripted. And then I went back in, I worked on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And then I created a show for Eddie Griffin and Malcolm Jamal Warner called Malcolm and Eddie. And that went on for a number of years. And then I've had a number of jobs along the way with different shows and that. And occasionally I'll jump in on screen. Sometimes my buddies will go, hey, you're a horrible actor, and they want to embarrass me, and they'll say, why don't you take that small part? I go, fuck, yeah. Can I say fuck? Sorry. I'm in SAG, and I get a on-screen credit. Yeah, I'll jump in there, and I am horrible. I'm a terrible actor. I love doing it, though, when I can, when I'm allowed to. So I did that, and that's what I've done. And then about 3 years ago, I hooked up with for some reason, Mark Brazil, who I sort of knew from stand-up and then I knew from writing. He created that 70s show. Okay. And he was doing stand-up again. And I said, I'm kind of doing it. And we started buddying up. And so I started doing it once a month, every other. I don't know how we got on this, but my origin story. And so the last 3 years, and what really helped is when I went back to Minneapolis at Acme Comedy Club. So the owner knew me from, I started out in Minneapolis doing stand-up, and Lewis, I know him from way back. And the guy that was headlining, J. Elvis Weinstein, said, why don't you come? He knew I was just kind of doing it for fun. He said, why don't you come and MC for the week? And I go, yeah, I'm in. And the first couple of nights were really horrible. Then I kind of got into a groove again about performing and stand-up and, what it's all about. Because I can psych myself out really easily on stand-up. But it really helped to have 9 sets in a row in a nice club with a real audience. Because you just don't get that. In LA, trying to figure it out is virtually impossible. You can't get stage time till you're any good. And you're not going to be any good until you get some at least. And you don't have to have a big crowd. Just 5 paying people is better than an open mic in front of 8 comedians. It's just, unless you need to have the feeling of standing on stage holding a mic, getting over that fear, you know, but you'll never get a true feeling of what jokes work and what doesn't and how your persona reflects, because it's a different environment than doing in front of real people or paid people.
So when you're sitting in the back room of with a writing group on a sitcom per se, jokes are getting thrown all around. I mean, you in that point, you're almost in that comedy club setting with a bunch of other comedians. You don't know how the audience is going to respond to a joke.
Right.
How is that experience? Like, do you enjoy that experience, to sitting in the writing room to do
when you're with some guys and gals that are on the same page, you know, as far as you know, where your head's at humor wise, it's one of the greatest experiences. But when you're in a room where, depending on who's in there, they're not on the same page. I don't know what they're doing. You may not respect them. They might not respect you. Right. I don't know. Then it becomes kind of a wonky and a fight and uncomfortable, like any business. But then if you have a strong leader, the guy or the woman in charge, see how every time, man, I'm jumping on it because I use the male thing all the time. Whoever's in charge says, okay, I like that one. And then you move on. And one of the things you get to do as a writer professional, you tend not to be so precious about your jokes.
Right.
So like, okay, if that doesn't work, if the person didn't like it and write it down, well, I got about 10 more that I can come up with. They're nothing special. And I think it really helps stand-ups when they can get to that point with their material to go, okay, it gets a laugh, but I need something a little bit better, or maybe I can tune it up, or just not be so precious. And also, if somebody accidentally steals it, or you find out they're doing something very similar, you can go, all right, 3 people are doing something very similar. I think I'll try for something else. I don't need to be redundant.
What sitcoms did you look to or inspired you as you wrote other sitcoms? Did you have a path towards kind of?
The exact opposite. When I started writing on sitcoms, first of all, the hours were such that it was really hard to watch anything else, and the last thing you want to do is watch something else when you come home at 10 at night, right. Because it's part of your job. But I kind of steered away purposefully because I did not want to go, they did the thing about the thing, dang. I came up with it and then I found out later, they did a show about X thematically or whatever, not thematically, but actually plot-wise, then I wouldn't feel bad. I'm going, okay, we're sort of on the same page, but I honestly can say I did not see them do the thing with the deal on the thing, whatever that is, to stay a little bit cleaner.
I mean, that happens with stand-up. I often, like, one of the biggest questions I get asked from other comics even is they want to ask, which comics are your favorite? Who are you watching? All those type of things. And I actually don't watch comedy. Like I'll watch the occasional sitcom now, but even my TV viewing has kind of dropped. But my I guess it's not a conscious philosophy, but it's kind of morphed into a philosophy, is that I've tried to stay away from watching other comics just for that same reason. But then you also have the other side where it's like, well, like in most industries, you also learn from those who have gone before. Like when I saw Bob Newhart live, I wish I saw him like a few years ago, and it was the only stand-up comic I wanted to go see live.
Well,
and
when you're starting, go ahead. Sorry. Yep.
No, it's just that I wished I wasn't a stand-up comedy, because
so
I spent half my time breaking down how Bob, this 88-year-old man or whatever, and just being completely mesmerized by the process. And that kind of like hindered. It's like, oh man, so you got to not watch comics. It takes you away from the enjoyment of the process.
And the few comedy shows or comedians where you can completely lose yourself in them, you go, oh, they're playing at such a different level. When I watch a comedy show and I don't have any notes and I went, oh, why did they go that way instead of this way? When I can just go, oh, these guys are brilliant. And there's a few shows. I don't watch a lot of shows, so I can't say there's probably more out there. But like Silicon Valley, the first 3 seasons or so, I was just like, I would watch with my mouth open because it just was so well done, so well crafted. But other shows, like you say, or you're watching another comedian, you go, that was kind of simple. Why did he do that?
Yeah.
Why did she go there? That's kind of, you're analyzing and it's not fun. It's work.
Right, yeah. Fidget Comedy, who was John Hollingsworth, is they have an improv group up here in Canada. He's asking here, did you write for a character or a situation? So when you were writing, was it situational based or character driven?
Well, the process always starts from a story. So you're on a show, let's say Roseanne, and somebody says, hey, I would like to do a story. How about something where Darlene gets in trouble doing X? Okay, great. That's sort of the B story that's going through. And Roseanne and Dan, depending on where they are in the season, okay, they've been having trouble with their marriage, but let's kind of get them together. You arc out the whole season. This is where we want to get them together again, and they're thinking about having a baby. So what's sort of the underlying story that ties the bigger theme of the whole season together? And somebody will say something about what they did at the grocery store. Oh, this happened to me, man. And you get this and say, okay, well, that could happen to Roseanne, and then what would happen and what would happen? So you start with the story, and then when somebody goes away and writes the actual script, and then when it comes back to get punched up, that's when you work on the dialogue. And everybody, I guess in some rooms that I have been in, some people are better at writing in some people's voices, like that's a Dan joke. That's a Darlene joke. That sounds better coming out of her voice than the kid. So you end up at that stage, then you are kind of writing for the characters, but it's more like if you're on a show, you have a feeling how everybody's talking to each other. So, I mean, that's how I always did it anyways. But again, you lay down the story first, and then you figure out how to execute that story within the character. So the short answer is you start with the story first and then lay in the dialogue, which would be the character.
Which is very, I find a very similar situation to stand up. I'm working with a young comic right now, super young. And he's been a fan of our shows for a while on the tour up here. And we did that same thing. It's like give me the concept, give me the idea. And then we're going to break it down into kind of six points of joke references that we can do under that thing. And then we get into the specific of like, now let's craft that specific part. So I guess it's true with any writing, and it's kind of same with when I wrote the book. It was like started off with an idea, like even if it was just as simple as the color orange, and then you just build from there.
Yeah, no, it's there are basic. It's a craft. It's like making a pot. Like the first one's not going to be that good. It might be okay, but as you learn how to do it, writing is not something that you just jump to. If people write spec scripts, your third one's going to be better. It might not be a billion times better, but and when you do stand up, hopefully you learn every time you get on stage, the 10th time should be better than the first, and on and on. And you can tell people that have had a lot of stage time and have taken advantage of it. And people, because you ask, well, how long you been doing it? And they say 3 years, and you either go, oh yeah, okay. Or you go, wow, you're doing great for 3 years. Right. Or somebody that said, how long? 13 years. Wow, I would have guessed you just started. But they probably are still better than they were the first time they got up.
You would hope. There's
a craft. So
based on what I've seen coming in here, there is a good stretch of people who are in here who are guys that either I'm working with up here on the tour or are in the comedy business. What would be something just
I'm gonna see who's on there. All right. Oh, hey, my friend Pratik is on here. Pratik is one of my oldest and dearest friends.
Is he a comic as well?
No, he's a writer. He's one of the funniest guys I know, but he's not a comic. Brian Larson, also a super funny guy. What can I say? And of course, is my brother still on there? Oh, did he leave? Oh, there he is. Alex, one of the funniest guys. Inspiration for a lot of good humor from Alex.
So what would you say to some of these young comics that I'm looking at now, guys that I know up here? What would be a one thing of like a piece of advice in terms of the writing aspect, not the performance, but the writing down? What would you tell a young comic?
Aspect. So right from if you're crafting for a stand-up act per se, you're always best off writing from what you know and person. Your own personal experiences will keep you away from writing what everybody else is doing. The more personal it can be, the better. And it doesn't have to necessarily come from the heart or anything, but just like your personal observations will always be one step away. I would also say the second best thing is, if you don't get to work with Tim on your stand-up, is the books by Gene Parrott are probably the best comedy writing books I've ever seen in my life. I'm not a big fan of learning anything in my life. I'm not. I don't care for education that much. But so I saw some comedy books when I was starting. I went, what could they can't tell you? It's all you're either funny or you're not, you know. But that's not really true. And Gene actually has a book about whether you can learn how to be funny. You can certainly learn how to write funny. I saw some books along the way, and somebody, I think it was his daughter who gave me one of his books at a conference, and I put it away for a while. About 6 months later, I was bored. I pulled it out, and I started reading it, and I went, oh, wow, this is exactly what I would tell somebody. So, of course, he's a genius, because I agree with him. And so I went, well, this is like really great advice, not only on writing, but about stand-up in general and how to approach business in comedy. And just like he has all these, like, I know that you had mentioned, like, Seinfeld wrote every day. If you want to write every day, he has lessons in his book. So you don't have to just like, oh, let's see, I'll come up with 8 things that I just saw. No, he's got formulas and things like that. And then the key in writing too is like, yeah, every joke's a formula. You know, you can backtrack every joke. You don't necessarily think, okay, I'm going to write a formula. No, you write a joke and then you go, but it is, it has this structure to it. So you can learn the structure and back into a joke, or, front load a joke, either way. Does that make any sense? Like, sometimes you get at it and a premise and you work on that formula to twist it. And other times it's just organic, but the reason it works is because it's the perfect formula.
Well, I think when you're saying that, the first thing I thought of was, say I'm going to use Cheers as an example for a sitcom. There's a clear sitcom pattern. You could write a sitcom. You could get a book and write a sitcom. But I found that, and it's same with good actors and good stand-ups. But when you're watching a show, there are so many sitcoms that you watch, and you're just like, oh, this just, it feels formulaic. You're like, there's like any young kid Disney show is that. But then you see something where, and at least through my eyes, I watch a show like Cheers and I just get drawn into it, and you miss the fact that it actually is just like all the other shows, but there's something magical that happens in there that's that organic thing.
That's the art of hiding the formula.
Yeah.
They all think of the greatest movies are the most simple formulaic movies once you break them down, but yet the brilliance is that you didn't even notice. You did not notice that all is lost. And the guy, you're in the third act, and what will happen, and everything, there's no way out. But yet you aren't thinking that. And then other shows that are crappy, you go, and you're looking around going, did anybody else notice how dumb that was? Because they lied about how they got there. They completely lied. But if it's real and you believe it, yeah, all is lost sometimes. We might be in the third act right now of the coronavirus, but nobody's paying attention.
Okay, so this fits in very nicely with something I'll show you how this, I think, reconnects to what we just said. But all this writing that you've done and your history, I mean, you've been writing a long time, and you've talked, but if you go to IMDb, you're best known for Naked Gun 33 and a third. So out of all the writing you've done,
that's the first thing that comes up, and it's hilarious. Because somebody did that. They go, oh, you were on that. I go, yeah, that was my 10 minutes. Actually, I think I timed it out. I have 15 minutes of on-screen time between TV and movies. So that's my actual 15 minutes of fame for real. And in Naked Gun, I did a thing with Paul Feig, actually, who's a big-time director now. Him and I, the director called us in and said, we're just not getting the audience reactions. Can you two idiots come and sit in the crowd and just go? And I go, I love mugging them. And that's what I did. But yes, that comes up first. So thank you.
That's the thing you're known for. It
makes me laugh every time. People think I'm an actor.
So here's how I hope this brings back to what we were talking about. Naked Gun 33 and a third came through that Naked Gun series, which was one of the series that was inspired by Airplane, which was one of my favorite movies
the
of all
brothers.
time.
Yeah.
which kind of started that deep satire, that deadpan lunacy, which Leslie Nielsen played so well.
Right.
But there's a formula, obviously, within the formula to do that sort of comedy. And there have been so many people that apparently, I mean, because just from me watching it, have tried to do Airplane and Naked Gun.
Yeah.
And that is a hard formula to do. But
very hard.
When the geniuses,
those guys,
when they nail it, it's awesome.
They went for every joke possible, and their percentage was gigantically high. I mean, I would say 99% of their gags and jokes were like right on, or if they weren't right on, they were right off for the right reasons. Yeah. And everybody, they watch that and they don't quite get it. They go for every joke, but their percentage is like around 40%. Yeah. Like some of them, you nailed that one. And then others, you missed by a long shot. And that's why those don't work. Yeah. And also the Airplane movies had a story. They had a story. They had a love story. Their stories were good. Mm-hmm. Even Naked Gun, there was a story to hang all that stuff on. And that's where the Zucker brothers, and then some of those others, like the stories, like, oh, you really just made some horrible buys there for you think they're funny. They're kind of not. I mean, they kind of work, but they kind of don't. And again, I think it's like baseball. You only have to, some of those people can get away with that. Yeah. And people will go. I mean, they just aren't as great, though. And everyone knows they aren't as great as Airplane and the Naked Gun series.
Yeah, those are. Joy says that you look like Steven Spielberg. Have you ever had that comparison?
No, it must be just this angle right now, because I've never gotten that. I've gotten a few things. Actually, this is my virus beard. I just started this 2 weeks ago.
That's beautiful. So you're kind of hoping the virus lasts a little bit longer to let that grow out a bit, or?
I'm hoping it goes about another month to let it grow.
That's awesome.
Get past the itchiness. But then I'm touching my face all the time. So that's bad.
Well, hey, I want to thank you for joining me today. I don't want to keep you much longer. It looks like you've got a great afternoon ahead of you. But I did want to ask, what are you doing to get through quarantine, and what would you tell other people to be doing for this time?
Well, honestly, I'm just trying not to panic. My wife has the news on constantly, and it's a little hard not to have moments of, this is it, man. We're done. We're done as a species, or I'm done. And, not to worry about relatives in other places, and try to just do the best you can. That's all you can ever do. I'm hoping to get a little more productive next week. My wife's a teacher, so she's been doing online stuff with her classes, figuring that out. My daughter's in school. She's been doing online stuff starting just this last week. And, I haven't figured out what I'm going to be productive doing, but that's okay. I'm the head chef here at Shea Madison, so I've been planning the meals and herding, and also, there's homework involved, and so I play, what do you call that, liaison between my wife and my daughter, referee might be better. And so that seems like a full-time job. I'm pretty tired out at night. But yeah, and then I've looked at some notes. I look over to my office. I look over at some notes, and I don't know. I can procrastinate on the best of days. So this is the worry, just the worry alone.
You think it's going to come down? Hey, Marijane Baker says that you look like the dad from the movie Bridesmaids.
That's my other great screen credit. Thank you.
And then I don't know
so much fun in Pasadena, did we not?
Wait, man, I'm just glad we got in there before the world ended. But that,
I know. Hey, can we get back to one thing about when me and Robert were tearing apart your act? Yeah,
absolutely. Let's relive that.
Was he a little harsher about the hook that you used? You probably remember it better than us. We talked to about 10 comedians. I thought, it was kind of a good thing to do, but what is your real perspective on that?
On the critique itself?
Yeah, and how it was handled. And you're a professional comic, so it was like, you're going to take it hopefully a little bit better than some of the other people that were horrified. I don't know. It's hard.
I'm definitely somebody who doesn't, I I'm a lone wolf. I don't like other people's input at all. I mean, I am just beginning now to try to say, so what do you guys think? For me, I've always just let the crowd figure that out. You know, I don't want to tell other people my jokes ahead of time and see if they think it's funny. And I don't know if it's a good philosophy, but I write the things that make me laugh. And at least if nobody else gets it, like at least I had a really good time and can enjoy it.
Right.
So
that's always a good spot to be.
So I was nervous going into the room because I didn't know what it was. And I've got people in there who, are in an industry that I love and respect. And I don't know what you guys thought. I mean, I only had 3 minutes on stage.
But see, that's true too. And you know, we found out quickly that, you're one of the touring professional people that are involved in this contest. There was all different levels of people.
Yeah, no, that's what I loved about that. But in terms of what you guys said to me, like Marijane Joel said he cried for hours. She's given a little bit of insight in there. Yeah, pretty much. By the time I got home, I quarantined myself after that trip for a couple weeks. But I appreciate. No, I actually did appreciate, because here's my thing, and maybe it's arrogance on my part, but if I believe that you are better than me or more accomplished, I can receive that. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that I don't receive critique from that maybe are better than me, but for some reason I decide they're not.
Yeah.
But so I actually really enjoyed it. And if Marijane is honest, she'll know that I came out of that room really encouraged by what you said. But it was a little bit, I don't think you could have done it better or worse. I mean, I don't think there's a good way to set that situation up. Like, I mean, unless you're going to take everybody out for lunch for a couple hours to get to know them. But so it was equally hard as encouraging. And I hope everybody who went in the room did that. Now, mind you, you also had the benefit, though, like someone like Marijane being there, you guys had some insight into my comedy that went beyond my 3-minute set that maybe you wouldn't have seen from others, because she was able to fill you in on kind of how I go about my work in general. And my character I don't think it plays off nearly as well in a 3-minute set as it would in a 45-minute set.
No, and that's funny, because that was that exact thing. That, you know, once we found out, you do like a 20, 30, 40-minute show sometimes. And it's hard to, I can relate personally to that. When I came off the road, when I first got to LA, I was used to doing, I mean, that was the thing to do. I mean, I was out there closing shows, doing 45 minutes or whatever. And it's like, a 3-minute thing is a whole different animal. You know, that's like something that needs to be focused on in and of itself. And I didn't get that at all. It took me years to figure that out. Just the fact that it needs to be thought through as a different animal, you know, let alone working on it to make it good.
The most stressful thing of that time down there as a part of the challenge wasn't the stuff like the critique or anything like that. It was the fact that I hadn't written a 3-minute set in years, and which was super cool, because I liked I loved the challenge of it. But it was enlightening as well to come out and then to hear you guys talk about that process, and also very positively talk about it, going, okay, we get, it's kind of like, I like when you're in a room, and you might see it in a writing room too or whatever, but you're in a room and you put something out there and a handful of people really like it. And the people that you're looking to see if they liked it, like in that scenario for me, it wasn't so much, do the audience like me? I don't even care if I got the laughs. The question was, what did the industry say?
Right.
And so the critique to me was actually more important to me than how the audience responded in those 3 minutes. Because my whole purpose for going down to that challenge was actually beyond what happens in front of the crowd.
Right.
I wanted to know what the industry thought and put myself in front of people who I would never get a chance to.
And there's only 10 people here, so I can be candid. That wasn't the real industry. That was just, there's that group that somehow I got involved with, and the industry that would actually do you any good. But I mean, yes, I mean, in terms of people that are, Robert's been around. He has a lot of cred. I have some cred as far as, like talking about the craft or whatever. But yeah, and it's not only like, as you say, in writing that 3 minutes, but then like imagine if you had 20 shots of honing a 3-minute set before you got there.
Right.
It would have been that much a tighter animal. I can't remember exactly what you did. Only like obviously you were in the top percentage of. I could tell right away you're a professional comedian. I wasn't even judging the exact 3 minutes per se. You know what I mean? But you could tell. I mean, you get on stage, you're obviously professional. So that's a big difference. Where some of those people got up and that's cool. And then you found out, well, it is their 8th time on stage, and it's a different deal. So, but it was cool, man, because it was a fun little thing. Bob Zaney came in, and a bunch of other pros.
Lou Deck was amazing.
Lou Deck, exactly. Another guy. Where's he? Doesn't he know how to use Instagram?
I don't know if he's on Instagram. We've chatted a few times on Facebook, but no, he occasionally will reach out or respond when I reach out, and
cool.
he was really encouraging.
Yeah, I mean, he's like from the very beginnings of the Comedy Store.
Oh yeah. The stories he told me was phenomenal. Well, I want to thank you for taking your time today to be on this show, this Calling Comedians in Cquarantine, and I hope that you survive, because it would be good to connect in real life again.
You too. Thank you for including me in comedians, because I don't relate to that, because I don't do it enough to be considered that.
Well, that's the bell that I stole from my high school class when I graduated.
Love it.
But Joel, I do appreciate everything that you said to me down at the challenge, and I appreciate you being on here today. And have fun, man. Just enjoy this time. Enjoy the time. Go make a great meal for your wife.
I'm going to do that now. Thank you, Timmy. Talk to you soon.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Calling Comedians in Cquarantine. Please take a moment to like, share, subscribe, and ring the little bell so you and your friends don't miss any of the laughs. Episodes will be uploaded here until I run out. And be sure to check out the description below for links to connect with myself or my guests on social media, and also download the podcast version of this show. Until next time, remember, your brain, it's for thinking, not for eating. So just say no to zombies.